Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm here with none other than Robert G. Allen, the wealth creating maestro, and we're super excited to learn from you today. All right, so today's tip is about subject to. So Bob, you're all about creating flexibility in your purchases, right? And so some people talk about subject to for getting creative financing, but there are other ways to use this special clause. What are ways that you've used subject to create more flexibility in your property purchases?
Well, it's subject to things like property inspection. I think you should always put that in there, because if you're buying an expensive property or any kind of property, you want to make sure that it's in good condition. And sometimes when you do a property inspection, they discover things that you never would have seen yourself. And then you get to negotiate that. It's a negotiating ploy, if you will. Subject to the existing financing, you're being able to take that over. But when I say subject to, it's really a protection device for me when I write an offer. I want to have an out. And the realtors know this. When I write subject to my partner inspecting the property later, or subject to my inspecting the property completely, most of those things are for me to have a way to protect my security deposit, my earnest money. I want to be able to write an offer and have the seller accept it, so it gives me the freedom over a month or two to be able to make my due diligence. And if I decide later on that I want to get out of the deal, then my subject to clause gives me an out. And I can say, my partner inspected the property, didn't like it, give me my earnest money back. So I'll put lots of subject tos in there. And the realtors hate them, because it means that there is an out, that realtor would lose a commission if I ever decided not to go through with the deal. But you need a subject to clause in there, absolutely. And then you also want to put in subject to, the addition of a person who you want to sell the property to, and or assigns is another little clause you put in your contracts. Your name plus and/or assigns. It's not subject to per se, but it just, by adding that one little thing, it gives you the freedom, or as you said, the flexibility, to be able to flip that contract to somebody else and let them close on it without you having to use your own cash. And you get to make a chunk of cash by adding those clauses. There's just all kinds of little things you add that gives you this extra sense of freedom or flexibility. And sometimes the way you negotiate is if the realtor says, you got to take that subject to out of there, you put extra ones in so that you can give away those options by giving a concession. When you give a concession to somebody by removing a subject to clause, it's like giving them a gift. So it's just part of the negotiation process. Put a lot in, let them scratch them out, and it's just part of the game, and it's a fun game because it can make you money.
Interesting. And you know what I love about that? Like you said, there's so many different ways to use it, whether it's creating financing options or creating outs for you if, it turns out to be a bummer of a deal.
Yeah.
Creating so many different ways for you to use the property or make plays to make it financially viable for you. Because the last thing you want to do is buy something retail, right? And so all of this makes sure that you're protecting yourself and not losing your earnest money, or not being forced into a property that creates a don't want to situation for you.
Really, it's to protect you, because if you could write an offer and not lose a single dime, if you were completely protected, why wouldn't you write the offer? Most people don't write them because they're afraid they're going to lose their earnest money or whatever, And if you put a subject to clause in there, it's as if you're saying, I'm going to make an offer. My money is not at risk. There is zero risk in this offer to me. And therefore, if they accept it, you can back out anytime you want with no risk to you. So those are the kind of clauses you put in your contracts to protect yourself. Don't forget to do that.
That's awesome. And what percentage would you say of these offers that have zero to no risk or little to no risk for you actually get accepted? How many offers do you have to write in order to actually get accepted?
Well, it depends on who you're negotiating with. And you remember, my fundamental principle is always find a highly motivated seller who really doesn't want that property. I call them a don't wanter. And most people don't do that. They go to the regular real estate world who are retail oriented. They're trying to sell a retail price to a retail buyer, and we don't want to do that. So if you find the highly motivated seller, they'll let these things go by because they really just want to get rid of the property. So if you really want to get your subject to clauses accepted, find the right kind of buyer to negotiate with first.
And I mean, even better are properties that don't have a realtor attached to them, right?
Exactly. Those are for sale by owners. And, you know, maybe 90% of the properties in the marketplace are listed with the realtor. That's what they're famous for. But we like off-market properties that are not listed with a realtor, because then we get to negotiate more evenly, more to our advantage, frankly. It's to our advantage to negotiate with a seller who is not represented by a realtor. Frankly, if I can be honest, I've been a realtor before, so I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have a commission-dectomy, where at the very closing table, they cut your commission at the very end. I know what it's like to play that game, but you just need to realize that most realtors ruin wholesale deals, because they want to find the listing. And they almost have to beg for listings these days. And so begging means, let me list your property. I can get you exactly what you want. I know it's worth this. And, just give me the chance to do it for you. Well, that just ruins the negotiation on your part, because you don't want anybody talking about what the prices are. The first person to mention the number loses. And so you don't want them mentioning these property values that the realtor puts in their mind about what you could buy that property for. So that's why I like to deal with for sale by owners, but they are rare. 1 in 10 is going to be a for sale by owner, off-market property.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in and talking about this special subject to clause. I love how a lot of times you'll talk about the 3 F's: find it, farm it. And today we talked about the 4th one: stay flexible.
I like it.
There you go.
Oh, man. I'm going to steal that one. I'm going to use that from now on. There are 4 areas. Very good.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.